I have something that came up yesterday, and it was,
Okay.
it's just one of those, it's kind of fun for me to work, on heavy stuff. And not, I mean, it's hard, but it's also interesting to work on incidents that aren't as heavy, I guess I should say. So
Hmm.
just to balance it out. So I was yesterday over on the coast, the Pacific coast, and picking blueberries at this farm, Jensen's blueberry farm. And my first time I've done it. So uh, there's around half a dozen of us picking. And I said to out loud, I said, so are we supposed to go like for the little berries? Maybe they're more tasty, or the larger ones? And this gal, friend of mine, piped up and said, "Oh, the larger ones." So I'm continually to pick, and then I notice this guy in our group comes over and starts picking on my bush after I said that, and uh, I caught myself going, "No, wait a second, you're not supposed to come on my bush. Just you got there's like 40 other bushes there to pick on." And I guess I got frustrated because he wasn't playing by the rules.
I
Um,
love it.
you know,
Yep.
I do
Okay.
that in other parts of my life where there's these rules that you're supposed to follow, etiquette, and being, a good neighbor or whatever. And so I was frustrated, and I could see that happening. And so anyway, I was frustrated at him because he didn't play by the rules.
Okay.
That's my
I love
stressful situation.
it. Such a, yeah, I love these kind of small situations, they're just so innocent and no big deal. Like you said, there's nothing heavy about them, but there is a lot contained in this little moment. He's picking on my bush. He's not supposed to come over here.
Yeah, and I
So,
notice I do this with other people when they're not, being a nice person, or
yeah,
a nice brother-in-law or whatever.
exactly. All right, well, let's do the work on it. It's
Okay.
what, you know, the starting point for doing the work. All I need to know is, did I get a little trigger? Did I get a little bit of stress? It might be tiny, but if I notice that something got me, ding, that's going to be a good little worksheet. So, all right, so he's not playing by the rules. Is it
Right.
true?
Yes.
Yeah. And can you absolutely know it's true? He's not playing by the rules.
No.
How do you react? What happens when you think he's not playing by the rules?
I get frustrated. I'm kind of giving him the evil eye across the bushes. He can't see me, but it's like, come on, guy. You got all these bushes just because I maybe I shouldn't have said anything. So I get defensive and um, frustrated because he's going to pick the bigger blueberries. I could see him on the other side of the bush, and he could at least have said hi or something like that. Hey, I'm going to pick some of these too, but he just went about also going for the big blueberries. So um, it just reminds me past images of being in similar but different situations where I expect people to play by my rules. Really, they're my rules. There's nothing written, even if I want to say it's a formal etiquette that you be asked, hey, can I pick off your blueberries off your bush? But just my expectation that you don't do that. You could at least ask. And so, yeah, so I do that with other people, and I could see myself doing it. I don't like it because it doesn't feel good. Um, it's just rather petty. I feel petty about it. And, but I also want to clear, I also want to see that more. Um, I want to see whatever is happening there. So I see less of it in my life of having these expectations that other people are supposed to act how I think they should act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm
anything else how
projecting.
you
I'm in the,
react?
what's that?
Anything else how you react when you think he's not playing by the
No,
rules?
no.
Okay. So who would you be picking along on that bush and he comes along Who would you be? And he starts picking the big blueberries on your bush. Who would you be without the thought he's not playing by the rules?
I would think, without that thought, I would think that, wow, this is pretty cool. He's coming to, join me. I can talk to him, and because I didn't really know the person that well, and so I am looking forward to this opportunity of being able to converse with him instead of freezing up and not saying anything because I can try to project my anger towards him or try to get him to back off. So I would feel open and yeah, seeing him as a person to get to know. Uh, Neat opportunity, and I just be having fun and know that there's 50 other bushes out there, and I have no, um, I'm going to get my coffee can, my Folgers coffee can that they lend out to people, filled up with no problem. So it's all there's enough for everybody, and even if there isn't, that's okay. I'd be happy with a half a can. So, and I feel I'm having fun. I'm enjoying just the um, of being out there in the middle of this blueberry field with these bird calls going off to scare the predator birds off, and um, just enjoying this new experience.
Hmm, cool. So turn the thought around. He's not playing by the rules.
I want to go back to that last one, and I also would see um, that if I do feel a little pinch of that he's not playing by my rules, it gives me a chance uh, to do some work on that in the some more work on that, and yeah, I get a chance to see where I'm at with my rules and see if I'm getting more, becoming more um, just see where I'm at, see if I'm more flexible, or and I can kind of laugh at it because I actually laughed at it during this uh, of catching myself going, oh, he's not playing by my rules. I'm kind of joking around with myself, and uh, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
And so turnaround.
Yeah.
Um,
He's not playing by the rules. What's a turnaround?
it helps me to write it down. I'm not playing by the rules,
Okay. What could that mean here?
and that would be because there are no rules. There's not a rule book that I know of. Maybe various religion books, but not a book, I think, of life on this planet. So, um, yeah, not playing by. So that's one. Another would be maybe I'm not playing by his rule. I don't know if that's another
That
turnaround.
would be another turnaround. Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe let's differentiate between your rules and his rules. And since we started on, I'm not playing by the rules and they were yours, then let's look for some examples of how you're not playing by your own rules. So, first step is, what are your rules about in that situation? What were your rules?
Um, that you don't share a bush. And I mean, there's so many bushes that you don't share a bush unless you ask someone, say, hey, can I work on this other side of this bush? And he
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Okay. So, how is it possible? The turnaround is, I'm not playing by my rules, and your rule is don't share a bush unless you ask. Is there any place where you're not playing by that very rule that you're wanting him to play by? I don't know. Let's look.
I'm not sure if I got that right. Is there any way that I'm not playing by a rule that I have on him?
Which is don't share a bush unless you ask, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, really, these bushes, they're all open for anybody, and I'm not asking to work on my particular bush. I'm not asking the farmer that if I could, can I pick from this bush? Because they just said, there's 6 different species and they're at different stages of development. I didn't ask if this the one you really want, that we can do. And
Right, right. I mean,
yeah,
if you want to get technical about it, I mean, we're just being fun here, but if you wanted to get
yeah,
technical about it, you never like asked, is it okay that I start picking on this bush now? So
yeah. I was
you just assumed it was your bush. This is my bush, right?
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, yeah, I was uncomfortable because there was nobody. The farmer wasn't out there. They just had this piece of paper that said, here's how much it cost and put your berries in. So uh, there were no rules. I mean, just those guidances,
I mean,
Um,
who knows? That bush that you're picking on, someone else might think that's their bush.
yeah, yeah,
They're coming back later to get the mother load of all those blueberries, and but this is just, I mean, we're playing with this to the extreme, just to poke at it, right? Like I'm not
yeah,
playing
yeah.
by the same rules.
And maybe, uh, people should be so far a distance. Either we should all be picking close so we can talk and enjoy the each other, or maybe we should be 3 bushes apart from each other. And so I'm not playing by the rules of. I would think that everybody should be picking closely together, and I did that for a while. But then I also enjoyed picking them by myself because it was just a meditative process to pluck each blueberry by, on off um, into my bucket, aside from the bird recording going off. It's very
So
meditative.
what I'm hearing is that there's even your rules are not very clearly defined. Like sometimes
Yeah,
it's close
that's
together, sometimes far apart. It's just it's kind of a mess of different rules or different, it changes minute to minute.
yeah, that's a
So
good point because I'm making them up as I go. However, yeah, whatever suits me.
yeah, isn't
Yeah,
that what we do with rules a lot of the times? We make them up as we go along to suit ourselves.
yeah,
So
yeah.
cool to see, right? It's not that
It's
you
very,
did anything necessarily wrong or bad or anything, but if you're making up change, if you're changing the goalposts all the time or changing the rules as you go, then that could be as unfair as him breaking one of your rules that you happen to have at that particular moment.
yeah.
And what other rules are you breaking for yourself? Like you were talking ethically and on that level. Are there any other rules that you might be sidestepping or ignoring or
Yeah,
something?
uh, I know that having rules is really, I get rigid and, with this expectation. So I'm having a rule where, in a way, a belief that um, just go with the flow. Um, it's just let life flow and um, not be so rigid.
Yeah,
So I wasn't playing by my rule.
right. I mean, isn't that partly why you're out there to have fun and just kind of go with the flow and
Yeah,
enjoy the nature and but yet suddenly the mind became rigid and you started breaking your own rule there of going with the
yeah.
flow.
It was quite aha when that happened. Here in this idyllic environment, and all of a sudden I'm going, whoa, this isn't, this this isn't. Where'd this come from?
Right,
That's
right.
what it felt like out in the middle of this area. So, um,
Cool.
yeah, taking life too seriously. That's one of my rules. Trying not to take life working towards, and that was I broke my rule there.
Cool. So now let's go to that other turnaround that you found a minute ago, which is I'm not playing by his rules. And what could be his rules? We don't know what they are, but let's guess and see if you might have been breaking some of them somehow. I don't know.
Um, that it's a free for all for the blueberries. You can do any bush you want. We just kind of go here and then you go over here, and maybe you'll kind of look back and you see another blueberry there, so you go back. So, um,
Exactly. So his rule is free for all, and you're breaking his rule by saying my bush.
right. And maybe his rule is to be an opportunist. Hey, if you hear there's some big blueberries, and then I'm going to go check this bush out and pluck as many as I can, pick as many as I can from it.
Yeah. I mean, you were just talking about the big blueberries or the small ones. So you obviously have some big ones on your bush there. Suddenly he's like, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not playing by his rules. What would his rule be in that regard?
Um, I don't know.
Just building on that opportunist thing, maybe it's something like uh, people shouldn't get in the way of a good opportunity, right? People shouldn't stop me from getting the best blueberries I can find on the
Yeah.
farm.
Yeah, it's a free for all. It's
Free for all. Yeah,
everybody
that's
out
what you
for
said.
themselves. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So free for all means free. You can move in any direction, pick on any bush, and you're saying don't pick on this bush. You're breaking his rule of free
Yeah.
for all. Cool.
Yep.
So, is there another turnaround? He's not playing by the rules?
Let's see. I'm not playing by his rules.
That's the one we just looked at.
Okay. He's not.
What's the opposite?
Um, he is playing by my rules.
Okay. How could that be?
Ah. Um, he is playing by my rules. Um, that's a hard one for me. I'm open. He
Is it possible that he's playing by your rules, ethical rules, even though it doesn't look like it to you? Is it possible he's holding the spirit of your rules, even though picking on your bush?
well, he didn't stay that long, so maybe he
Yeah.
kind of thought about it, going, "Oh, I did move in on her bush when she mentioned it, so I'm going to go to a different bush."
Okay. So that's one, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
He didn't pick it clean.
right.
Right?
And he didn't get really close to me, like where he was like we're competing for the same stem or
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah, if you took it to the extreme, he would be on the same branch, like, no, no, I'm taking that one. No, no, that
Yeah,
one's mine. And he didn't do that. So, okay.
yeah. Um,
It's playing by the rule. What was your rule again?
um, my rule is that he shouldn't pick on the same bushes. If you say something, see what was
Right.
my rule?
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't share a bush unless you ask. I think that's what you
yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So how is it possible in his mind, we just have to imagine that he might have been adhering to that rule even though he didn't actually ask? Could there be any way that he would see that as not necessary or something like that in this particular instance? I don't know. Just playing.
Maybe when I raised my voice and asked if what berries I should be picking, which ones are the best and most tasty, that he didn't um, he thought that was an open permission to come and use the bush because
Maybe.
I divulged that I had some large berries on my bush.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you were
it just makes, if I'm going to bring it up, well, that's kind of an open invitation.
makes sense. And you're talking, so there's like an involvement there. So he may have
Right.
thought that those doors were open somehow, right? It's not
Hmm.
exactly the way you were picturing it, but for some reason he could have interpreted it that way and not thought he
Right.
was doing
Right.
anything wrong there at all.
Yeah.
So what we're looking for is how he could be wanting to or even actually playing by your rules, even though it didn't look like it to you.
Hmm.
What's the spirit behind don't share a bush unless you ask?
Um, it's that I won't have enough for myself.
Mhm. And so why you call it ethics, right? So that ethical idea of don't share a bush unless you ask, don't come in and take someone else's bush. Like, what is that about in when you look at it?
Well, it feels like it's about that I don't, uh, I need to protect myself because I won't have enough to survive.
Okay. So,
Um,
if that's the essence of your rule, like having enough to survive, is it possible that he would feel comfortable moving into your bush, um, knowing maybe that there you will have enough to survive?
yeah. Well, yeah, he probably knew that I would have enough berries, if not on this bush, you know, then maybe the next bush.
Right.
And there was, yeah,
So if you play out the same scenario in a field where all the bushes have been picked, except this is the last bush, and there's only a few of them left on that bush, and then he might ask. You never know. He might think, "Oh, okay, this is coming down to the end. She's not going to," or and you're about to die, because you don't have anything else to eat. That we can imagine that he might not be as aggressive if he knew it was serious.
yeah,
So, so again, we're just playing here. He is playing by the rules. He may be playing. He may. It's almost about respect. He may be
yeah,
respecting you, even though
yeah,
he comes on your bush without asking.
right. That's probably the big caveat right there is he didn't respect me. He took advantage of me,
Right.
or he could
That's what you're
walk over
imagining.
me or whatever.
So, is that really what was going on there, or is there another way to explain his behavior besides walking on you or taking advantage of you or not respecting you?
You mean like in a positive light?
Hmm.
Um,
What could be going on in his mind
he
besides,
just thought it'd be cool to uh, pick berries on the same bush as me. You know, maybe I gave off some good vibes, and
right?
he just
She's
thought,
having fun.
yeah,
I'll have
he's
what she's
having
having.
fun. Yeah,
Exactly. So one way to interpret it is he's not respecting me. Another way to interpret it is he's drawn to me. He wants to
yeah,
have fun like I'm having.
yeah, yeah. I like
Cool.
that because that is uh, like let's say um, an old pattern is to think he's not respecting me, and yeah, I could see that he would. That what didn't cross his mind at all. He was looking. He wanted to be near me to get to know me a little better.
Yeah,
And just because I look, maybe because he thought I was fun, and it just uh, made it a more pleasant event situation.
exactly.
And
More
maybe he
fun
just
doing
saw
things.
how fast I was picking berries, and he wanted to kind of learn some of my technique.
Very possible, right?
Yeah,
So you assume it's all about him trying to take advantage of you. That's the instant reaction, but it
yeah,
could be something totally different. Like he's just fascinated by how quickly you pick berries, or he's
right,
just
right.
curious about how big the berries are on your bush, or he's just
Yeah,
he's kind of just wants to be near you somehow, right? All these things are possible when you're not focused on he's not respecting me, he's not playing by my rules, he's taking advantage of me. That story.
yeah.